All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome to the DevMentorDave. I gotta learn to say that better. DevMentorDave launch party. So this is basically just an introduction to DevMentorDave YouTube channel, and just to kind of understand what I'm trying to do with this channel, and hopefully it'll help you. Hopefully you're interested in the information that we'll be sharing. Really, this is for junior developers. Obviously, there's going to probably be any different number of people on here, whether it's junior developers or senior developers, or even people who are just interested in learning how to code, thinking about a career in development, and so I think really anything that I share is probably going to be helpful for most people who are involved in or interested in the development world. But really my target, my focus is to help junior developers, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit more as we go along. So if you'll notice in the chat, if you're watching live, there's a poll in the chat. Just wanted to see how many of you are here that are actually junior developers or are senior developers, or maybe just looking. Just throw a vote in the poll there. It'd be interesting. This is just for me, for some feedback on that. So as you can tell, this is not my actual wall. It's a green screen. So this is a brand new channel. I've done some live streams in the past for different various things, but this is really kind of a first for me to go out and do something like this kind of on my own, just to try to help people out. So that's really the goal of DevMentorDave, and we'll get into that here in just a second. And why am I doing this? I guess that's the main question. Why am I spending my time standing here for an hour, potentially in the future 2 hours, just to share information and to share my opinions? I mean, does it really matter what I have to say? I don't know. Hopefully things that I've said, if you found me on LinkedIn or other places, hopefully that I've been helpful in different ways to you there. But my goal is to just help you get some insights from somebody who's been there, get some ideas maybe of ways that you can help grow your career, whether it's as a junior developer, which is my main focus, or even as a senior developer. Maybe you've been developing for a few years, but you haven't really kind of taken that next step in your career path, and you're just looking for help in that and for advice in that, and so I'm just here to offer my opinion. Obviously there's going to be things that I say that maybe other people have a disagreement about, or other people have a different way about going a different way of going about something, and that's perfectly fine. Again, this is just my opinion based on my experience, so hopefully it's helpful to you, and that's, if it is, that's really all that I'm looking for. So why did I start this YouTube channel? Well, the main reason is because I have, over the last probably 5 years, really seen a lot of problems when it comes to junior developers getting into building a career, getting into even the workforce in many cases right now. So as I've looked at that, and as I've interacted with junior developers in many different ways, I've just noticed some trends starting to happen, and I wanted to do at least what I can to help with that. Now, obviously, this is a multifaceted problem, and so it's going to take different ideas and different people and groups and companies and everything to actually fix the problem, and I don't know that it will ever actually get fixed completely, but my goal is to just provide some help to junior developers and help you grow in the ways that you need to grow so that you can be successful down the road. So what are the problems? I kind of see 4 main problems for junior developers right now, and this has kind of been a growing trend, and the first one is actually expectations. So when you are thinking about getting into coding and you're thinking about becoming a developer, and you start doing some research online, and you go to Google and you ask it, how do I learn to code? And there's all kinds of different ways that you can learn to code. You can do it like I did many years ago, and just figure it out on your own, and try to find documentation and websites to teach you. Of course, nowadays it's a whole lot easier because you have YouTube, and there's dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of channels out there dedicated to helping you learn one thing or another when it comes to learning how to write code. But there's another group of people, and I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, because I don't think they're doing this because they're mean or they're trying to do anything wrong. But it's a reality of marketing, unfortunately, that in order to get people's attention, you have to offer some amazing things. And so what you see a lot of times is statements from places like boot camps or learning centers or even universities that are offering short-term things that allow you to learn how to write code, but they offer it in such a way as if you're going to be able to just like jump into a career as soon as you're done. They use a term like job ready, that you'll graduate and you'll be job ready. And the reality is that's just not true. Most junior developers coming out of a boot camp, coming out of like a training center or something like that, they're just not really job ready. They usually barely have the fundamentals of coding down. They've learned typically a few different types of skill sets and some tools, and they just kind of let go. And I know a lot of times they do offer assistance to try to help you get a job and things like that, and maybe they have internship opportunities, and they try to help you out in those ways. But in the end, it's not really going to help you get a job. And typically those things are not the types of jobs that you're really looking for. So there's this expectation that really isn't true, and that's that you're going to be job ready. Another one is that you'll have a high paying job. Now, this could be different from person to person, depending on where you're at now from a monetary standpoint. But junior developers, the last numbers I saw are coming in around $65,000 a year, which is a very good pay. I'm not saying that it's not good pay, but it's not great pay for a developer. In fact, I've worked with the developers, junior developers, who came in closer to $50,000 just in the last couple of years. So it's getting better, but it's definitely not like this just massive high pay as soon as you get out of a boot camp, because really you don't know anything. You have a little bit of understanding about how code works and maybe how to put some things together, but the reality is you don't really know how to be a developer when you go through one of those types of trainings. Another thing that they often throw out there is this idea that anybody can learn to code. I disagree with that, because there are two things that you need, in my opinion, you need to really become a successful developer, and that is you need to be able to solve problems. You kind of need to enjoy solving problems, but you also need to be able to learn things on your own. So if you can learn things on your own, and if you're pretty good at solving problems, then you have a good chance of being successful as a developer. Now, are there developers that do what I would call menial tasks, where they're just kind of doing the same thing over and over and over again? Yeah, absolutely. And somebody in that role doesn't need to constantly be learning, and they don't need to do a bunch of problem solving, because it's just probably right there, the same thing every day. But really, if you want to be a successful developer, if you want to move up in your career, you're going to have to be somebody who can solve problems, can find answers, and can learn new things. The reality is the development world is constantly changing. We've got hundreds of different languages and frameworks and all kinds of things that are involved in developing an application or a website or something like that. And most of what you learn is very, very narrow. And that's kind of the second problem I have. Not only are there expectations that are kind of out of whack, but the training is not adequate enough. So junior devs come in with a lot of high expectations that oftentimes aren't met, but then they come into this training with those expectations. And the problem with the training is a very narrow focus. Most people going through a boot camp today are going to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then they're going to learn a framework like React or maybe Vue or Angular. And if you're really lucky, then you'll look at some backend stuff like Node.js and MongoDB or something like that. But it's very JavaScript specific, and it's very narrow in its focus. Like I said, there's all kinds of different languages, programming languages. There's all kinds of different frameworks and things that you could learn, but unfortunately they just kind of stick everybody in this mold of really what amounts to pretty much a front-end JavaScript developer. And I think that has had a lot of problems in flooding the market. So what we see today are a lot of junior developers who have pretty much the same skills, but we have a lot of job openings in other areas that are not being taught in most boot camps or most training centers. There are some out there that are teaching them, but you pretty much have to know that you want to go into that. For example, if you wanted to learn PHP, which is a back-end programming language, or Java or something like that, you're going to have to either learn it on your own, or you're going to have to learn it. You're going to have to find somebody that's going to teach it to you. Most of those ones that are out there advertising that you can learn how to code in 90 days or things like that, most of those guys are not going to they're not going to teach you more than just that little bit. And so it's a very narrow focus. The focus is not just narrow though in the code that they teach, but it's also narrow in how they teach it. Now, granted, what they're trying to teach you is completely new for most people, completely foreign for most people, and so they're teaching you how to understand stuff and how to learn this new skill, and I get that, but just having a skill doesn't make you job ready, and you need to be able to take that skill and implement that into a real situation. So you need to be able to take that and now go build a website or go build an application or do something with it. Solve a problem is what you need to be able to do with that code. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of focus on that because it's short. And that's the third problem of the training, is that it's very short. I've seen things as low as 14 weeks, all the way up to 6 months at the max. I think 6 months is the longest that I've seen for a training course, and that one's probably putting out some developers that have some decent skill. But most of them that I see are just 3 months, 90 days, something like that. It kind of reminds me of the slogan, 90 days, same as cash. I mean, it's not, you get what you pay for, basically. And unfortunately, with those types of trainings, they're just too short to really give you more than the basics of understanding coding. And you really need more than that. You need not just the basics of understanding coding, but you need to learn how to take that and put it into a real world experience and actually turn it into something that you can solve problems with. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we do. We just solve problems with code. So anyway, so that's expectations and training. And I got a couple more here, but I want to take a look. Somebody's chatting, so I want to take a look and see what's going on here. Yeah. So Colton's talking about having somebody that he had on the job training for 4 years. I'm going to get to that in a minute because that really is the key at the end of the day. Um, One of the big problems that we have right now for junior developers is hiring. I mentioned a minute ago, they're getting everybody's getting put in the same bucket, and so everybody's kind of focusing on the same job opportunities. But there are lots of other opportunities out there that junior devs are not being taught where they are or taught the information that they need to be able to get those jobs. But it's not just on the training center; it's also on the companies as well who are hiring. There are a lot of companies that just won't hire junior developers, and I'm not saying that that's wrong. I actually work for a company that doesn't hire junior developers because it just doesn't work with how we want to put out the product that we want to put out. And so a lot of companies are that way. They just won't hire junior developers because they're under a lot of time crunches, or they have a specific type of product that they want to put out, and they want to make sure that the quality is good, and they don't have the time to help a junior developer come along and learn more along the way. They've got to get everybody on the project and moving forward. There's some companies that just won't hire junior developers, and that's not bad. It's just a reality, and unfortunately we need to be aware of that. Um, there are companies that will hire junior developers because they're cheap. Not because they're really looking to help you grow, but because you cost less than a senior developer. And they're kind of the opposite end of the spectrum from the companies that won't hire. They're going to be okay with you kind of learning on the job, or they're gonna give you those menial tasks. They'll give you those things where you're just kind of doing the same thing repetitive over and over and over every day. And you often don't get a chance really to learn and grow unless you do it outside. Now, I think that you should be doing it outside of work, but the ideal would be for a company to bring a junior developer in and help them grow in their career. Kind of a third issue with the hiring problem is that people jump ship, and unfortunately, we don't live in the day and age anymore where there's this loyalty from the company, loyalty from the employee, and hey, we're in this for the long haul. It's just a reality that most devs don't stay at one company for more than a couple years, if that. I think it's even gotten shorter in the last few years. There was a lot of jumping back and forth here about a year ago from just especially senior devs. Got some inflated salaries, I think, in many cases because of that. But unfortunately, that kind of hurts the market as for junior developers as well. When there's a lot of turnover, people don't want to put the time in to a junior developer only to lose them in a year or 2 years to somebody else because now they've gained the skills they need to grow, and that company may not be at a point where they can reward them, and so that's another thing that kind of is hurting the situation from a hiring standpoint. But I think even with those three things, the expectations, the training, the hiring, I think the biggest problem, and this is kind of what Colton is mentioning here, is that there's not a lot of actual mentoring. Um, in fact, mentoring is really not encouraged in most of the places that I've worked. I've only had one job where mentoring was actually mentioned, and that was a few jobs ago, and it was my job. It was my job to mentor a couple of junior developers, and it was part of my role, and that was the understanding is that I would help these developers grow in their strengths so that they'd be able to work on their own and move forward. Other than that job, I cannot think of any job where I was encouraged to mentor somebody else. And I think that's a problem because again, in some jobs, if they don't hire junior developers, there's not going to be a need for mentoring. But if they do hire junior developers, you need people who are able to mentor them, to take the time and help them grow in their understanding, grow in their opportunities, grow in their abilities, and really most importantly, grow in their confidence. Because at the end of the day, junior devs, the big issue is not how much you know, and it's not how much you've done. It's how confident you are. If you come across confidently with good confidence, we'll talk about that in a live stream in the future. But if you come across with confidence and you have some knowledge and you have some experience, you're definitely going to get a lot more looks. The problem is you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because there's not a lot of confidence coming out of boot camp because you don't know anything yet. And you shouldn't have to worry about that right away. If you're coming into a junior developer role, there should be somebody there who is going to help mentor you, who's going to take time, who's going to answer your questions and all the things that a mentor does. That really, to me, is the key. The first time I attempted to mentor someone was many years ago now, and he just asked me a question, and he was trying to figure something out, and it was just something to me sounded very simple. It was like, this should not be hard for you to understand. Like, you graduated from a boot camp, you know how to write code. This is a pretty simple thing. But as I just talked to him and understood what he was dealing with, I realized, there's more going on in his life, and a good mentor will be able to help you not just learn to code better, not just learn to be more confident, but they're going to help you navigate the life of a dev. They're going to help you understand what it looks like to work for a company, what it looks like to be a part of a team, what it looks like to manage your work and home life, and how all that stuff fits together. They're going to be there for more than just code. And that's why I say mentors are very rare. You can find a lot of senior devs who will answer your question. You'll find a lot of senior devs who will help you with figure out a problem or a piece of code or a bug or something like that. But it's pretty rare to find somebody who's going to interact with you more than just those parameters. And the reality is not every senior dev really is built to be a mentor. Not every senior dev really wants to. And so you kind of have to find somebody who has that desire and someone who has that ability to be a good mentor. So with all these problems going on, as I'm looking at this, obviously, I want to help you guys navigate these things, and when it comes to expectations, you need to think about what's being said to you and make sure you understand, hey, this is marketing or is this real? Do some research on your own. And I would encourage you, definitely spend a lot of time developing the skills that you learned in a boot camp, or if you've learned them on your own through some other training. Develop those skills first. Get really good at learning how to problem solve with whatever language that you've learned, what other skills you've picked up. Get good at that. But as soon as you feel confident to be able to build stuff with that, take a look at some of the other options out there, whether it's Java, PHP, Python, the Microsoft stuff, which shall not be named, other things out there that you can learn. There's different frameworks for each of those. Take a look around and see what else is available, and maybe just do some job searches and see who's hiring for what, and see what's popular, what is not so popular that people are not maybe applying for, but might be something that you could learn and even get a job where you didn't expect to get a job. So there's just a lot more out there, but don't get wrapped up in the high expectations. Bring it down to earth a little bit. Realize that uh, the money is not as good for a junior developer, especially if you're coming from a different career where you made decent money. You might actually lose money coming into a junior developer role, and but for somebody else that could be a huge boost. So definitely don't look down on somebody else's income if they take a job that you wouldn't even consider because of the income. But that has to be a focus, has to be a reality as you're looking at this. So think about the money. Is the money worth it for the specific jobs that you're looking at, assuming you can get them to actually tell you what they're going to pay. That's another problem with the industry. They don't like to actually share what they're going to pay you. um, but the biggest thing of all is you need to find a mentor. You need to find somebody in your life, preferably at your job if possible, but you need somebody in your life who's going to be there to answer the questions on a day in and day out basis. Somebody who's going to be able to sit down and pair program with you, or just sit down and talk about a struggle that you're having trying to understand a concept, or whatever it is that you might be dealing with as a junior developer. You need to find somebody that's going to be that mentor. And it's not just somebody that you kind of sneak into it, because that is one way to do it. You can go in there and you can just ask a bunch of questions and get them to interact with you and try to build a relationship that way. I don't think that's usually going to be the best kind of mentor-mentee partnership that you want. You can try it, but you really want somebody who is interested in helping you, who wants you to be successful and not just them to be able to get their stuff done. So the third thing you can do is you can come hang out with me every Monday at 7 p.m. Central. We'll be talking about all kinds of different topics that are related to mentoring, topics that are related to development, topics related to junior devs and the struggles that you're going through. And honestly, what I really want is I want to hear from you. I want you to send me topics that you would like me to discuss or talk about, and we'll even talk in the chat if you put some questions in there. So that's really my goal. This channel is really for you. It's not for me to just stand here and pontificate for an hour. My goal is to I can't be right there with you every day as a mentor, but as much as I can from this platform, I want to try to help mentor you, answer your questions, and help you grow in your knowledge and your experience and your confidence, to help you kind of move up and take that next step in your career. Because if you're really pursuing that, I think you can do it. Now, are there some people that might have gotten into this who maybe it's not really for them? Like I said, not everyone can learn how to code. Maybe you find out it's not for you. That's life sometimes. But I think for most of you, it probably is a great career opportunity. I think most of you probably can do it, and I want to be here to help you. So if you have any topics or questions or things that you want me to answer or interact with, then that's what I want to do on these live streams. Now, I've done a lot of talking, and I don't think I ever really introduced myself. So here we are, 30 minutes in, and you probably don't even know who I am, unless you work with me or you have worked with me in the past or something like that. So who is DevMentorDave? So my name is Dave Welch. I've been a developer full-time for a little over a decade. I've been writing code for, well, since I learned in 1999. So that tells you how old I am. But I've been writing code for a long time. I've been working in this industry for a long time, and really in just the last few years, I've started having a passion to help junior developers make the most of their career, and so that really is why I'm doing this and why I'm here. So I just really enjoy the process. I enjoy the interaction. I've got some devs that I taught in the past, a small class a couple years ago that I still interact with, and I still provide some mentoring for. So and there's obviously people that I've worked with in the past. That I mentioned a couple devs that I mentored a few jobs ago, and I really enjoy not just development, but I enjoy helping other people be successful in learning how to become a developer and how to grow their skills and how to do it in a way that's going to help them move forward quickly and not just kind of plod along. You know, a lot of things I see on LinkedIn today is people just kind of encouraging you to just keep plodding, keep plodding, keep plodding, and there is some truth to that. There is some truth to that, but unfortunately, if you're not focusing on the right things, like if you're not focusing on things that employers are looking for, if you're not focusing on things that are actually give you the right knowledge, that's going to give you the right experience, to build the right confidence, you know, if you don't have that in place, if nobody's helping you walk through that, helping you decide, you know, what language should I work on next, what project should I work on, what should I be doing? A lot of times people just tell you to do stuff, but you don't know what to do with that information. And so that's why I think mentoring is so important. You have to have somebody who's going to come alongside and walk you through a lot of these things that you just don't know yet. Once you get it, you're going to be perfectly successful and you're going to have a great career and you're going to probably make a lot of money until you have a large family and it eats all of it up. But you're gonna do well. You just have to learn the right things. And really at the end of the day, that's my goal. My goal is to help you learn the things that you need to know so that you can then pursue the right opportunities to build your experience, and then you can move forward and have confidence in your career choices. So what is the format of DevMentorDave? So like I said, every Monday night at 7 p.m. we're going to have a live stream. I've got it scheduled for an hour. It will just take however much of that hour there is. If somebody has questions, we'll answer the questions, as many as we can. We'll discuss a topic, hopefully a topic that comes from you all. So definitely submit those either in the comment section of the video after it's done being live, or you can submit them to me via email or LinkedIn. So my email for DevMentorDave is just info@devmentordave.com. And speaking of devmentordave.com, there is a website coming. I was hoping to have it done by today so I could talk about it some, but it's not quite ready yet. But the website is going to be kind of a community. It's got a social media, Facebook community type feel to it. So there's a lot of stuff in there that's going to be around groups and interaction and things like that. And that community really is for you junior devs to be able to have a place where you can go and feel comfortable being junior devs. So you can feel comfortable asking the dumb questions. Everybody says there's no such thing as a dumb question. Well, yeah, there is. There's dumb questions, but the reality is it's okay to ask those because they're only dumb to the people who know the answers. So I'm building a place for you to have kind of a safe environment to come ask those questions, to encourage one another, to get help from one another. Obviously, you know, if senior devs want to come in there as well and provide some assistance, provide some mentoring, that would be great as well. But we're gonna be launching that very soon, hopefully within a week. But I'll post another video about that once we're doing it, because there's a lot of information, a lot of things that are kind of wrapped up in the website that will be a good supplement to what we're doing here on the live stream every Monday. This is not going to be a tutorial channel. There's 100 different how to code tutorial channels, and most of them probably do it better than I could. So I'm not going to be putting up a bunch of playlists about hey, learn HTML, learn CSS, learn JavaScript, and all that stuff. That's not what this channel is for. This channel is to discuss the real issues and the difficulties and the struggles and the questions that you guys have on how to advance your career and how to learn the right things and how to get the right experience and build that confidence that you need. So definitely not a tutorial channel. Now, there will be times when we'll probably do tutorial type things. I've got a setting here to be able to show my screen, right? But that's not going to be common. It's not going to be the main focus. The main focus is for us to interact. And really, what I'd like to do is to be able to interact with you all on these and not just be, a talking head for an hour. I want to interact with you. I want to understand what's going on in your life. So I want to understand what struggles you're dealing with as a junior developer, or what concerns you might have as somebody trying to get into development. Maybe you've just started a boot camp and you heard me just say all these horrible things about boot camps. And that's not my intention. Boot camps are good. They are helpful. They have a place. You just need to have the right expectations going into it. So, and alongside with that, just I mentioned earlier, my job, I am a full-time dev. I have a day job, so this is just kind of a side thing that I'm doing to try to help junior developers. So especially once the website gets up, I'm not going to be there every second of every day to interact with. This is why I said you need to find somebody local to you, especially if you can be with them physically as much as possible. If you can just find somebody that's available, via Skype or Slack or something like that, that's fine. That's kind of the second tier mentoring. But you need to find someone who's going to be there for you the times that you need them. Even if it's just, hey, can I talk to you later today? Set up a time, something like that. You need to find somebody who's going to be available to help you on a regular basis. I will be involved in the website and I will be interacting with people whenever I can, but I do have a day job. I enjoy my day job. And so I will keep working at my day job, which means I'm not going to be there every second. And I also have a family. And I don't know if you probably can't tell from the sides here, but I'm also a pastor. So there are different things that go along with that take up time as well. So this is just another thing on my plate. But at the end of the day, it's something that I've been thinking about doing for a long time, something I've been wanting to do for a long time. And I finally pulled the trigger and said that I think we need this. Like I said, the problems that junior developers deal with they're very multifaceted. There's lots of different reasons for them. And my little YouTube channel here is not going to fix all of them. I don't know if it'll fix any of them, but hopefully it'll be a help to some of you who are just looking for somebody to give them a little bit of advice, give them a little bit of information, and just tell you what I would do. Tell you how I would deal with a situation as somebody who's been there. I am self-taught, so I did not, when I was learning, I was taught basic HTML in 1999, 98, 99. Yes, I was in school. And so I was taught basic HTML, but everything from that on I'm self-taught. I've had to learn on my own. More recently, thankfully, YouTube has given us tutorial sites which this is not, but thankfully there are things that make it easier for me to learn today than it was back then. But even through that process, I've experienced a lot of the struggles that you're experiencing now, simply because I didn't know where my skills stood compared to other people. I took a very low paying, I found out later, a very low paying position as my first real developer job. And, because I didn't know any better. I didn't know my value. I didn't know my skills. I didn't know what I was worth. And so I've gone through a lot of these struggles that we're talking about, that we're going to talk about. So this is not just me telling you opinions. It's opinions, but it's born out of experience. And again, it's born out of my experience. So other people have other experiences. They're going to have other opinions. And I'm perfectly okay with other people disagreeing with me. I don't have the corner of the market on perfect mentoring. So, but anyway, that's the goal for the channel, for the Dev Mentor Dave channel, is every Monday night, and some few other things which we'll talk about once the website gets up. But I want to be here to help you. I want to answer your questions. I want to help you gain the knowledge, experience, and confidence you need to take your career to the next level. And if you're interested in partnering with me on that, and joining me on this journey, and learning a thing or two, and even maybe expressing some of your own opinions, expressing some of the things that you've maybe run into, and issues that you've run into in the chat, and on the comments section, and then eventually in the website, that would be great. And I'm looking forward to it. I know these type of things grow very slowly and you get very few people at the beginning, and that's okay. I just hope, I hope those that do come find it beneficial, and I'll look forward to seeing you next Monday at 7 p.m. Just one more thing. I'm just being honest here. I am a Chiefs fan. I'm in Kansas City. And so if there is a Monday night game, we may move the live stream to a different day. So I'm just putting that out there now so nobody gets confused when that happens. So anyway, I think there's only one, but we'll see. But anyway, thank you for coming, or thank you for viewing if you're watching this later. And hopefully this was informative. Hopefully you're interested and excited to see where this goes, and to maybe learn some new things, and see how you can move your career forward as a junior developer, even as a senior developer, even as somebody who is just thinking about learning how to code. There are lots of opportunities to grow. There's lots of jobs out there. If you can learn to focus on the right things, and learn the right things, and build the right kind of confidence, there's a place for you. And I want to help you get there. So have a great night, and I will see you all next Monday at 7 p.m. for our next topic is going to be, how do you find the right kind of mentor? Okay, we're going to dive into that a little bit more, because we need to flesh that out a little bit. How do we actually find this person, this unicorn per se, of somebody who really is interested in trying to help me succeed? How do we go about that process? And not just how do we find them, but what are we looking for? What are the kind of the characteristics that we need to find in a mentor to help us move forward in our development, in our career journey? So join me next Monday at 7 p.m. and we'll discuss that, and any questions that we see in the chat as well. And then I'll be posting a video probably later this week or next on the website as we get that up, to introduce you to all the fun features that are going to be there. So I'll see you guys next Monday.